Hello and welcome to New Central Television. I am Dakbo Adigboye. Here are the stories making headlines beyond the continent. We begin in North America, where voters in New York have reacted to the midterm election results, expressing their hopes for the years leading up to the 2024 presidential election. Votes are still being counted in the U.S., but Republicans appear on course to win a majority in the House of Representatives.
So all things considered, I think the Republicans had a bad night. I mean, it just worse than they expected, for sure. I feel like we're going to get more bickering. It's definitely going to be more bickering, more pettiness, I would imagine. But hopefully they continue to keep the best interests of the public in mind and help us push through this tough times, especially with like the inflation being so high and everything. So hopefully they can put their partisanships aside and work together.
We're a little surprised by the Democratic Party wins. Some places were very, very close. Some are still too close to call, even at this hour. So we're hoping, right, that the strength and the power in Congress kind of hangs in these last couple of weeks.
Joining me live from Washington, D.C. to discuss this is Ignatius Annor. He is a journalist with Voice of America. Thank you for joining us, Ignatius.
Yep, thank you for having me. How do you do?
Very well. And I guess you're great too.
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
All right, so let's get straight to it. The outcome of the U.S. midterm election so far has not gone as planned. Now, the expectations were that the Republicans will sweep away the Democrats, but that hasn't quite happened. What's your analysis of how things have panned out so far?
Well, you're absolutely right, Apple. Initially, in the lead up to this midterm elections, the Republicans were hoping for a red wave. Unfortunately, at this time, it's not what is the reality as I speak to you. Currently, we do not have all the full results in. As you know, there are 50 states in the United States, and all of them have varied electoral laws. There's still some states who are still counting. Some would have to wait until post-marked ballots, are counted till the very last one, until they are able to tell exactly what the results will say. So as we speak now, it looks like the House of Representatives, which is the lower house, it's leaning towards the Republican Party. But for the Senate, which is the upper house, which had 35 out of the 100 seats up for grabs, currently we would have to wait until 4 key states result to be able to tell which party will take absolute control of the Senate. And I'm talking about the state of Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and then Wisconsin. At this time, what we are picking up is that in the state of Georgia, it is likely the Senate race will be heading for a runoff. And that's because the incumbent Democratic candidate, Raphael Warnock, failed to clinch the 50% needed. And also, his main challenger, that's the Republican Herschel Walker, also has not been able to make the 50% that is needed. And there was a third a candidate who got the 2% vote, making that particular race impossible to declare at this time. And so it's likely, according to election officials in the state, that the state of Georgia will be heading for a runoff, and that will happen on December the 6th. You will recall in 2020, it was exactly what happened, and all eyes and attention had to go to the state of Georgia to decide which of the parties takes absolute control of Congress.
All right,
and as I speak to you in a few hours from now, we do know that President Joe Biden will be speaking. That will be his first comment since results began to trickle in at this year's midterm election.
All right, I need to cut in there. Now, talking about President Joe Biden, what impact will the outcome of the midterm elections have on the Biden administration and the American politics at large?
Yesterday, President Joe Biden told reporters when he returned from campaigning for one of his candidates in Maryland that it wasn't going to be an easy win for them, but he was optimistic that the Democratic Party will be able to, if I would say, essentially shine during this election. Well, it's a surprise one for them because most of the Democratic candidates have performed much more than they expected going into the elections. And in 2020, when the elections were held, at least previous years, under former President Barack Obama and Bill Clinton as well, their party did not perform as much as President Joe Biden's reign, and the candidates that were put up for elections have performed. So it kind of gives him sort of an upper edge as far as going into the 2024 presidential election is concerned. You should also know that in the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis was overwhelmingly elected again as the governor of that state. Now, he happens to be the contending challenger for the race of presidential candidates of the Republican Party come 2024. And so the conversation here right now is whether or not it's going to be a heated race for the ticket of the Republican Party in 2024, looking at how well he performed on the ticket of the Republican Party.
All right. Quickly, before I let you go, just your quick take on this. In a twist in this election, we have about 8 Nigerian Americans that have won seats. How do you react to this, particularly as it affects Africa and the American politics?
Well, for many African Americans, including candidates with a descendant from Nigeria, of course, it's good news for them. Because again, we have the House of Foreign Affairs that has subcommittee on Africa and global health. And they take, the kind of work they do has implications and impacts on Africa as a continent, from diseases like the COVID-19 pandemic and on the security front as well. So having persons from Africa get into the Congress is, kind of a good news and relief, not only for the, African Americans who live in the United States of America, but also for African Americans that are outside of the country.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Ignatius Annor.
You're very welcome, Dapo. Thank you for having me.